spoilers and stuff. The first Spider-Man game is one of the best video games ever made, in my opinion. The story was shockingly engaging and surprising for a superhero game. I went into it expecting to love the mechanics and the boss fights, but I thought the story was just going to be another Spider-Man story. I was so wrong. It wasn't just another Spider-Man story, it was one of the best ones. I cried at the end of the game, and Doc was built up so perfectly, and the moment with May is just so incredible. In addition, Mr. Negative was such an incredible character, and I loved his story. I thoroughly enjoyed the Miles game, but it wasn't like a fully game. It was like a DLC for Spider-Man 1 where you get to play as Miles. That being said, I had insanely high expectations for Spider-Man 2. A few days ago, I finished the story, and I felt like it was necessary to put my thoughts into a video. The new mechanics are incredible. They somehow made swinging more fun and immersive. I truly don't understand why they added fast travel into the game. Speaking of, they improved fast travel. I never used it, but it's definitely cool that they did that. The new abilities they added makes fighting way more interesting because you're not just using the same moves again and again until it's over. Especially Miles, his abilities are so fun and strong, fights don't last long enough to be boring. I don't think I had a bad time when playing this game. There are points that I don't like, but I never wanted to stop playing, if that makes sense. To actually get into the story, I really love the opening. It's such a strong start and the scale was massive. Scale, that's the best word to describe this game. Every section felt huge. All the boss fights and major story bits were super engaging. There was a distinct lack of boss fights at the beginning of the game, but the ones at the end are so good it makes up for it. Especially the Lizard and Mr. Negative fights. The Lizard is the first actual boss fight of the game, and it is so worth the wait. It is a multi-stage fight, which I should have been expecting, but the third stage is a chase throughout New York. Spidey and Lizard are blasting through buildings and just beating the shit out of each other. It's so awesome. There's a point where they fall and Peter breaks his arm, and it just is so cringe whenever Venom heals it. It's awesome. The Mr. Negative fight was probably my personal favorite moment in the game. I love the escape section with Miles. It feels generic and repetitive until you realize that Kraven anticipated you escaping and was using it as a warm-up for your big fight. One thing I want to say about the fighting is that I really don't like the new parry mechanic. It's a great idea, but the fighting in the game forces you to look at the head of the Spider-Man. The parry symbol appears on the head of the bad guys. This sometimes makes me get hit by one of the parry attacks. Spidey gets the red dodge button, so I dodge, but I shouldn't have because the symbol was yellow and on another dude. I don't like this. There should be a different symbol or Spider-Man. I don't know. That just might be a me problem. The Mr. Negative fight was the only time I didn't really notice this. I don't know if it was because of the location or I just was in the zone, but I handled him with ease. The fight against Kraven was cool because it was fun balancing the actual fight with stopping the bell. I really loved fighting against Peter with Miles. One big gripe I have with Spider-Man 1 is the boring MJ segments, and I'm way more than happy to say they are so improved in this game. I felt like MJ had half the gameplay in the last game, but I'm obviously very wrong with that. It just felt like half because of how long and boring those missions are. In this game, her segments are actually fun. The Kraven one is the least interesting, but the location makes it more fun. In addition, it's a short mission, so it's not even that bad if you hate the gameplay. The other MJ bits are just straight up fun. The section at May's house is a blast because it's just a different way of stealth. I didn't even sneak. I shot a web behind them and then ran up and tased them. The last MJ section is literally just called Zombies. I wasn't just tolerating her missions, I actually had a blast in them. Okay, I'm done with the outwardly positive comments. Time to be sort of mean. As awesome as the Venom segments are, I felt like they could have been a little bit better. Venom didn't feel super fleshed out, which is fine because he wasn't playable for very long. It just wasn't super satisfying fighting Kraven to me because I could only use like 4 different attacks. Obviously, the end of Kraven was dope and super rewarding. I just wish the fight was more fun. The best use of Venom was whenever you're in the permanent rage mode as Peter. The mission where you go save Miles is so fun and satisfying. Speaking of Peter Venom, this is probably my biggest complaint in the entire game. Peter's turn to evil was so fast and didn't get explored nearly enough. Everything he did was great and fit, but it just was so fast. If you only did the story missions, then it was only like 4 missions as Venom Peter. I don't know, this might be a small thing, but the game felt super short and rushed in the middle. Kraven as a whole was dope, and I really enjoyed his character. Venom, on the other hand, I really don't know how to feel about him. Everything about him was awesome, except his motivation. Quick question. Why did Venom want to take over the world? I get the heal the world thingy, but venomizing the planet is just, I don't know, weird to me. It didn't feel like the game was leading up to that whenever it happened, and in the dream segments, I kind of thought it was a joke, and then it slowly became real. I'm not exactly sure what I was expecting his end goal to be, but I just know it wasn't that. I said all this negative stuff, not because I don't like the game, but because I like it so much. When something is incredible, it makes the moments that are fine stick out way more. When the story started off incredible, it sets up the expectation to have a thought-provoking and engaging story, and then it's just a little weird when it turns into a very generic end-of-the-world plot. The one final thing before I end the video, the quote Norman had at the end of the game just had me cackling. Everyone knows that Norman or Harry is going to be the gobbler, so we didn't need him to say, "Get the G serum" at the end. Also, G serum? They couldn't have been more creative that? What, was goblin goo taken? The best way I can describe this game to a fellow gamer is it's very juicy, but it just doesn't have a lot of sauce. The mechanics are fucking awesome, and it's one of the most fun games to play. Nakey Jakey's goopy goblin gamer brain would be very gooped up. Venom is indeed in the game and is badass throughout most of it. All of this is pretty darn juicy. But the story doesn't knock my socks off. Spider-Man 1, The Batman, Tron Legacy, and definitely other examples, they have the sauce. The little touches that just make it the tastiest thing you've ever eaten. Having a thought-provoking and engaging story just pulls all of the amazing visual elements together. All in all, it's a phenomenal game and well worth the price. The swinging alone will take up hundreds of hours of my life. That being said, it's not without its flaws. 8 out of 10. Juicy, but only a little sauce.